Okay, so hey everyone, please keep yourselves muted. We are recording this program, so after this presentation, please visit our YouTube channel, hit subscribe and smash that like button and click the bell to get all our new content. That really helps us out. So welcome to another AAM workshop entitled Organizing Multiple Day Animal Activism Live Events. AAM mentors Amanda Murphy and Malaina Watts will cover specific strategies for organizing live multi-day animal rights activism events, including tips and tools, do's and don'ts for putting together a successful event, getting started and things to prepare, choosing actions and planning them, executing actions during the live event. They will recap previous actions and share what they have learned. So my name is Michelle Granberg. I'm your moderator. I'm a mentor and team member with Animal Activism Mentorship. I'm located in New Jersey, and I've been a vegan and activist for 6 years. AAM's mission is to eradicate violence and build a culture of empathy and compassion, which ultimately results in animal liberation. We strive to build a global community of activists through our free 3-month mentorship program that pairs experienced activists with aspiring activists. Through one-on-one mentoring, we generate an increased number of effective activists worldwide because we know this movement needs more activists. Additionally, we offer free workshops that train and educate our mentors, mentees, and the public on various aspects of animal rights activism. We have a podcast called the Animal Liberation Hour, and we host large-scale in-person activism events. AAM is proud to be fueled by FARM, the Farmed Animal Rights Movement, one of the oldest AR organizations in the country. So if you're interested in applying to become a mentor or mentee or want to get involved or to donate, please visit our website, animalactivismmentorship.com, and follow both AAM and FARM on social media. Yeah, so that being said, it is now my pleasure to introduce 2 amazing AAM activists and mentors who've been with us like from the beginning, and they're awesome. So I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to introduce Amanda Murphy and Malaina Watts, and please hold your questions. We will have a Q&A, and then you'll have a chance to ask all of your questions. We'll let you know as that starts. Malaina, I'm turning it over to you now.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Thanks for tuning in. Obviously, Malaina Watts. I'm over in, and I've been a mentor with AAM for, I want to say, about 2 years. Time flies when you're having fun. So anyway, I'm going to let you know what inspired me to start doing the Tampa turnout that I did. It actually started when we were in Atlanta at the Atlanta Assembly, and there was a conversation that was sparked with a friend of mine from Florida. Her name is Trina, and we were excited to be with like-minded people, growing our skills, creating connections, and doing all kinds of actions for the animals and challenging ourselves to get out of our comfort zones. I had already been on a couple of AAM tours, so we thought, well, hey, wouldn't this be awesome to do in our local area? I've been organizing for a while, and I really wanted to light a spark with the people around here. We have a lot of veg fests and things, and we have tons of people turn out, but I don't see half these people at any of my events. So we really wanted to get that that happening. So it was really inspiring when we were out there. There was a lot of people in different ranges of activism. They had, been there, some had done for a longer time than others. So, I've seen people that were, that claim to be, what's the word, to the, introverts. And I've seen them, leading marches, doing chants, standing on walls, holding banners, and just doing things that were, that they didn't see themselves doing activism and having a passion for the animals, and seeing other people who are doing this definitely brings out another side of you. So we decided to meet up when we got home from the Atlanta Assembly and discuss some things that we could do. There was another mentor that was involved at the time, Leah Tiberini, who's no longer with AAM, unfortunately. But a little bit after I came home, Trina ended up becoming my mentee. And we ended up working on the Tampa turnout. So that's where we got started. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Amanda, and she's going to tell you what inspired her to do the Ohio occurrence.
Thank you, Malaina. Hi, my name is Amanda Murphy. I am, of course, an AAM mentor, and I have been a mentor with AAM for just over a year and a half, I believe. I started, the first time I experienced anything with AAM was the Chicago convergence back in 2021. I think that's how far back it went. I was at the tail end of that tour, and then, as Malaina had said, we were on at the Atlanta Assembly together, which is where I also too was inspired to launch the Ohio Occurrence. So when I first started activism, our state was very busy with activism. Like, I would drive all over every weekend. There would be something somewhere that I would be going to all the time. We used to have huge groups of people, lots of organizers. Like, Columbus used to be hopping. It's our state capital. We used to go there all the time. And of course, they have a ton of vegan restaurants, which is great, because while we're in town doing activism, let's go do some food. Well, unfortunately, when the pandemic hit, it took a hit on activism as well, like a lot of places, really. After attending the Chicago Convergence, I actually did my very first disruption at that one back in 2021. And that helped my confidence build. I was like, oh, this is really nice. And of course, because of how much I enjoyed all of the combining of people who have done things for so long, and new people, and people stepping out of their comfort zones, and like all of these different things occurring, I wanted to go to Atlanta Assembly for the whole week, which I did. And I'm so grateful for that, because I did my first like official speak out. I've done outreach and things like that, but like those types of things are things I never would have normally done here. I organize events here locally, but it's like I'm an organizer for Anonymous for the Voiceless. And we do like PBR protests, circus protesting. You're not doing a whole lot of speak out type things. I wasn't at that time. So having that confidence and being around those like-minded people, when I attended Atlanta Assembly, I wanted to bring that to Ohio. So I wanted to inspire and reactivate the local activism here, giving people in this area new experiences and ways that they can take back to their cities, and organizing, get reactivated to stand up for the animals. My vision for this was to actually be annual, and we would tour the cities of Ohio. I had a friend, I was doing activism, and he had offered to be like my feet in Cleveland. He's like, hey, you can do it here, and I'll help you out however you need. So kind of had a co-organizer that volunteered, and I was like, oh, okay. And then when Tampa Turnout actually launched, that gave me the confidence to say, you know what, I'm doing it. So then I did. And then I was able to kind of sit in with Malaina and them and kind of see, okay, how are they doing it? And then kind of go forth with how I wanted to do things. That helped significantly. And then my experience on the other tours, that of course helped as well. I asked questions with other organizers as I was doing it, as we'll show in some slides. And this is a soft launch. Ohio Occurrence 2023 will be in Cincinnati, Ohio. We're aiming for the first weekend of September. So it's officially an annual event. So I hope that you can mark your calendars, follow Ohio Occurrence on Facebook and Instagram. That way you can know officially once the launch is and when the official dates are, and keep up with that and join us in Cincinnati. We're gonna have a whole lot of new different kinds of things that we didn't have in Cleveland to give people more experience with their activism. That was long-winded. Thank you for listening. I pass back over to Michelle.
You mean to Malaina?
Oh, sure. Should I go ahead and share the
Yeah,
slides?
go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead, share your screen.
My apologies.
No, you're all good.
Bear with me here.
Mhm.
All right. Okay. So just to say real quick, these were our our graphics that we used for Tampa Turnout and Ohio Occurrence. And I have to give a shout out to Christy, who is on the team of AAM, who did these wonderful layouts for us. She's actually organizing the Colorado Convergence, so mark your calendars. Okay. Oh, that's right. I forgot. We got a little sidetracked. My apologies. So getting into let me turn on my other video. We had some, that way you can see me maybe over here. So with the targets, groups and local campaigns, as we were getting started, I was balancing off of what Malaina and them were doing with Tampa Turnout, where you look at the local or worldwide campaigns that are currently going on, local activist groups. For instance, with Ohio Occurrence, we worked with the local Anonymous for the Voiceless chapter, the Save Movement, Sea Shepherd. We tried to do a potluck with the local meetup group, but unfortunately that didn't happen. And we also had a sanctuary day at one of the local sanctuaries. But this allows us to get local as well as help that local area get integrated with local campaigns. For example, one of the things we did was a secondary target with Tiffany and Company, which is an LVMH campaign, which if you follow CAFT, they do a lot with the abolishing the fur industry and asking LVMH for a fur-free policy. So although Tiffany doesn't sell jewelry as a secondary target, they're still under LVMH. So we protested to ask them to ask LVMH for a fur-free policy. Also, Worldwide Vegan Chalk Night occurred during our Ohio Occurrence. So we took advantage of working with that worldwide campaign in going forth and chalking all of the sidewalks outside the fair that we were protesting. And we did a Cube of Truth with the Anonymous for the Voiceless chapter and a beach cleanup and a vigil. And then did a volunteer day / cookout with vegan hot dogs and burgers at the Stalls No Harm Farm, which is a local sanctuary to Cleveland. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Malaina.
Hello. All right. So when we were sitting down to look at our targets, we considered anything from fur to animal used in fashion, farms, live auctions, dairy demos, zoos, pet stores, circus, rodeo, or places we can present plant-based options or ask for plant-based options. We knew that we had a primate sanctuary close to us that we had wanted to go to. We weren't sure really what our approach would be, but we decided that we were going to go there and try to get them aligned with NAPSA and GFAS to become an actual sanctuary. So we did that. There was the Starbucks campaign that is still going on now that we decided that we wanted to participate in, as well as a fur campaign. We have a Marc Jacobs that was here, so we went ahead and did that. We did look into the local organizations and and the bigger organizations like PETA and all. We considered some PETA, Animal Save, Mercy for Animals, Humane League, DXE. We ended up partnering with a local group called Florida Voices for Animals, or FVA, and we ended up doing an Empty the Tanks with them, which was awesome because they already had a bunch of people there, and we just added to the group, and it was pretty fantastic. So what we ended up doing with our tour was it was a 3-day tour, and we were the only ones that actually had a baby shower on our tour. One of our co-founders, Shannon, was pregnant with a little one at the time, so we made our first day a baby shower. So we did that the first night, and then the next day we did a vigil at the primate sanctuary. We did a protest at the Marc Jacobs, and then we went to a great place in Tampa called the River Walk, where they were having a festival that night called the River Fest. So we figured there'd be a lot of people there. So we brought TVs and literature and signs and chalk, and we actually ended up doing a march through the River Walk, as well as the Empty the Tanks. And then on the last day, the Sunday, we did a Starbucks. We had planned on doing, it was a Mother's Day, so we had planned on doing a chocolate giveaway, which ended up turning into $1 million vegan food giveaway. And then we were doing a March for Moms. We did dairy signs and all that for that. And we ended up wrapping that up over at Starbucks and then going over to Plant Love Ice Cream to end, because it was a very, very hot day and you just need that ice cream in Florida. So yeah, so that's what we did. And I'm going to go ahead and put that over to Amanda to talk about Airbnb, van rentals, and food.
All right. So moving on a little bit with the Airbnb, van, and food. With the Airbnb, as I was looking for one in the location, you always you want it to be cheap because, like with us, we'll talk about fundraising in a little bit. It's the things you're trying to make this as low cost as possible for the volunteers who are coming. Usually on these types of tours, getting there is the only out of pocket we try to have people do. For instance, like our Airbnb, we didn't have to have any out of pocket. Our fundraiser that we did actually covered the Airbnb. It covered all the food for everyone to have a meal. And we didn't do vans. We mentioned vans or carpooling on here. Unfortunately, the vans, we didn't get our fundraising enough to get a van. But it worked out okay with carpooling. Our Airbnb had a really big driveway that fit a lot of cars, and there was a lot of street parking that was free. So, we would have people meet over at the activist house, have breakfast, kind of do our pre-morning, and then, we'd make sure everybody had a ride, and make sure the materials were in the vehicles that we needed for that day. When looking for the Airbnb, you kind of have a balance of what you're doing based off of how many rooms or how many people the Airbnb sleeps versus, and what you're paying. Ours actually turned out to be really great. It officially slept 15, and we could have probably fit many more because there was some pretty big open spaces. And although the Airbnb had some things like pots and pans, we actually came into the thing where they weren't big enough pots and pans. So we were actually like scurrying about trying to ask local activists, do you guys have stock pans? Because we were trying to make pasta and they had these little tiny little pots. And it was really funny. So like, lesson learned, bring anything that you will need. If you will need a food processor or a strainer, like just take some of your own things that you're going to need. So for next year, I will definitely know to take my stock pot and my Vitamix and things like that, just to have to help with food prep and things. With carpooling, we were able to get everyone everywhere, even if someone wasn't able to be at an event the whole time. We kind of did like the system where it's like you're counting how many people's in your car, and if you can't get them back to their destination, make sure you find someone who can, to make sure that there's room to get them where they need to go. With food, we unfortunately didn't have any local food donations that were given for us, but we did offer a free meal for everyone in the house. I have a little snip at the bottom. I hope you can see it okay. So we actually served dinner Thursday night, because we had 3 full days. We had all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday events from morning to evening. So we had our Airbnb for 4 nights so that people could come in Thursday night and be kind of refreshed, ready to go Friday morning. Because we actually had to leave our house at like, I think it was like 7 o'clock in the morning, because we had an hour drive to where the vigil was Friday morning. But as you can see, we served dinner Thursday night. They had 3 meals Friday, 3 meals Saturday, 3 meals Sunday, and then Monday was any leftovers to get the food out of the house. So our fundraiser that we had done actually covered these meals for our, we'll say, average of 20-ish volunteers that were like around. So we would actually take lunch with us during the day, have it in a cooler, and we would meet at a park at lunch, and people could either go get their own lunch at whatever local place. I know we had one day people had gone to a food truck that was local, Wild Spork, and they had gone and got some food from there instead of what was served. But at least we knew we had a meal for every person to make sure that people could eat. So like that was something that wasn't necessarily an expense that was out of their pocket. But donations, all of these things happen with donations. So if someone can afford, like we tried to keep it around a $5 per meal, roughly like $4 or $5 meal. Then that kind of helps with people who are volunteering and coming, because it's just a little less out of their pocket. But that's kind of an overall of those items for me. I'll go ahead and over to Malaina.
Right. So our take on it, on the Airbnb, we have some locals. So we try to establish how many people, first off, through registration, that we would need to accommodate, who wanted to stay in a house with us, if any locals would be interested in housing people, or if anybody wanted to stay in hotels. We tried to figure out what our budget would be, so we could, to afford whatever housing that we would be able to. Some things that are important to look at when you're looking for an Airbnb is to consider how many people it does sleep. Is there room for more? Will they allow more? How many cars you're going to have? Is there enough parking? Will they allow extra visitors? Because we did have an issue with ours. I think ours slept 12, and they were specific about not having any more people in the house than that. So that kind of put a damper on some things as far as we wanted to do meals at the house and things like that. So that put a little kink in that plans. You're going to want to check the check-in and check-out times and see if they affect any of your actions, because at the end of the day, you're going to have to clean up the house and everything and get everything ready, make sure everybody's stuff is out of there. With the rental van, we did not get a rental van, but I encourage you to consider, will you need a van? Will personal vehicles be okay? And if there's any local transportation, we did have people flying in, so we had to figure out if we needed to accommodate them, picking them up at the airport, or if they were going to provide their own transportation. I know that we had considered once on a Chicago tour using the train and stuff like that. So if you're going to be using any kind of public transportation, you're going to want to check into times and getting people to where they need to be on time. You're going to want to look at the rental prices, any fees that are included. How many people do you have? How many people does the van seat? If it's feasible. You want to know the pickup times and drop off times on the van as well, if that conflicts with any of your actions. And you're gonna have to consider the gas prices, the mileage, that. We, like I said, did not do a van. We ended up having individual cars, which I can tell you was a little more difficult, but if you can do it and save some money, go for it. But for food, we ended up making some of our own stuff. We did one of us made a lasagna. We did do a restaurant. If you can save money and eat at the house, that's obviously going to be better. Or if you can pack lunches and take them out with you, that would be better. You never know what's going to happen within your day. So you're going to want to plan for it and at least have snacks for everybody in the house. That's important, and water. So we did check out the vegan restaurants that are local. We wanted to check the timing it would take between events to get to that location and make sure we had enough time to get to the next location on time. We got some donations. We talked to a few of our local places. We did have our friends at Kind Biscuit donate 12 of their amazing big biscuits to our house, and that was awesome. And if you do get any donations, you're going to want to make sure to give a shout out to those people. Maybe have the people in the house write a card or something, show them some love online, those kind of things. And on other tours, we've done simple meals, where we did like cashew cheese quesadillas, we did a chickpea salad sandwich, vegan hot dogs, tofu scrambles, pastas usually go a long way. I know on our tour in Atlanta, we were lucky enough to get in Vegan and Loving Hut to donate large portions of food for everybody, and they alternated which night. So if you can get that to happen, that's fantastic, because that really did make a difference. At the end of your actions, people are pretty hungry. So if you can plan that ahead, that's great. So I'm going to go into, Amanda, if you want to change it over to the fundraising and registration. There we go. Perfect. So I highly recommend that you do the registration. AAM does have a form that they use that you can probably get to use as well. The registration is going to show you how many people, their needs, as far as allergies, different things, give you a head count, find out who's staying in the houses, who's not staying in the houses. So that's definitely important. For your fundraising, you're obviously going to want to know all the answers to your questions that we just spoke about. Are you going to do an Airbnb? How much? How much for the van? How much for the gas? How much for the food? How much are you going to need for supplies? Right now, I know that I believe Facebook is not allowing you to do personal fundraisers, but AAM and Farm, as a nonprofit, we were able to use them by documenting what the tour was specifically, and the donations could go to them, and then they'll be dispersed to you at the end. So I would definitely keep all your receipts so you can pay yourself, your co-organizers, or anybody that's on the tour that buys something, maybe sunscreen or cough drops. You do a lot of chanting and things like that. So those are a few things to think about. We also did a raffle, which your raffles are great. I know on one of the tours, somebody did a coffee raffle. We did a chocolate giveaway. So we had a bunch of different vegan chocolates, and we auctioned those off. And you're going to want to keep track of who donated towards that. I think it was like for every $10 donation, you get a raffle. So that works out pretty well to try to raise more money for the tours, as well as you can always use your Cash App and whatever you have. Just know that takes a certain percentage away from your tour. So that's my advice on those. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about.
Nope, my turn.
Okay, go ahead.
So transparency when you're doing things and taking fundraising money is super important. So I always kept track of all the expenses with fundraisers, and then kept all my receipts, as well as I kept a spreadsheet of, if anyone knows anything about me, I'm called the spreadsheet queen. I am all about spreadsheets. But I work in finance. That's, how it goes. So I keep track of everything in spreadsheets. But I was able to do that. And then at the end of the tour, I could see, okay, do we have a balance? And that's how I knew that all the donations that we had taken covered everything for the fundraising. With registration, you do want to include any kind of waiver release type items, like Malaina had mentioned. AAM, because we did ours in partnership with AAM as mentors, we used their already procured documents. And within that, they have like, it releases liability to like the organizer or AAM. You know, like we always try to be cautious of, you know, like Malaina had mentioned, food allergies and things like that. Like we had some gluten-free people who had come to Ohio Occurrence. We were trying to make sure that we had them covered. But you know, you want to do that. And as Malaina kind of already covered some of those things, if housing is needed, transportation. With our, we did 2 raffles during our fundraiser. The first one were just kind of some fun things that I had thrown together, and a book that was raffled off. And then we did another raffle. I had a donation from actually my friend Tanya, who's here. She is a hairdresser, and so she had a vegan hair care that she had donated with a book that she donated, so we could do another raffle to try to you know, get more engagement on our fundraiser. You know, I also, for those that, I don't think I've mentioned it on here, but I'm going to mention it now because I remember. So I ordered magnets with that thing I showed at the beginning, that it was like the Ohio Occurrence announcement. And I had magnets, so it was like a reminder people could put on their fridge. So for anyone who donated $20 or more to our fundraiser, I sent a thank you card and that magnet to them. So the postage for those, I actually paid out of my own pocket. I don't ever think I paid myself for that, but it's another expense too, if you're going to do thank yous or things like that, something to consider. But I think I actually got a couple of compliments back. They were kind of fun, like vegetable. They were a little take on vegetables. And I hand wrote like a little thank you note in there. And I think the little added touch was kind of nice. But just a little bit of additional, you know, my experience on the fundraising and the registration. In addition, this is a little snip that I did to, and I got this inspiration from the Chicago Convergence last year. This shows, so I was taking donations via, I had to do a personal one because unfortunately something was going on with farm at the time where they were unable to take donations. So at that time I had to do a personal fundraiser. So some of our fundraiser actually had fees taken out of it. So that was something that I had to consider as well. But I also used Venmo and Cash App to receive funds. So I did this on our Facebook header for the fundraiser, just to kind of let people know, because of course, you know, the Facebook fundraiser is going to show one amount, but of course our amount was higher because I was including the Venmo and Cash App. So like I just kept this running total in Canva and just kind of updated it when I would get donations. So this was kind of my transparency, showing all the funds coming into the fundraiser and the explanation on what it's paying for. So it was just a little additional thing that I did, inspired by what they did for the Chicago Convergence. All right, Malaina.
All right, so now we're going to get into the action launching and preparing for your actions. These are a few things that I've learned from organizing for a while now. You definitely want to scout out your target areas. You're going to have a lot of people coming in, hopefully. So you're going to want to know where things are. So you're going to want to check out parking. I know some cities have, you have to pay for parking. We did a lot of that in Chicago. Some places have parking garages, some places have parking lots. Some you can pay $5, $20, depending. But you're going to want to take into accounting the parking so we can get everybody set up when they get to their location. You're going to want to find a meetup spot. Some of your targets aren't going to be ones that you want to park at. So you're going to want to find a meetup spot where it's safe for everybody to congregate for the few minutes before you go and carry out your action, whatever it is. If you're going to do a march, you're going to want to map out the area and find, where you're going to be marching at. It's great to know where there are restrooms. So in case you have anybody that needs to run, or maybe even plan some time for people to run, depending on how far your events are from each other. You're going to want to create the event page and put your meetup location on there. There's, many of us can even help with graphics if you need anything for your events. Sometimes it's nice to put in your graphic your actual address and different information as well as inside the event. And some of your events are ones that you might not want to create an actual event page for. So, example would be like a fur protest. You might not want to, post where you're going to be. So we suggest a Signal Chat. A Signal Chat is an app that you can download on your phone. It's an encrypted app that you can set to delete messages within a certain amount of time. So if anybody, if anybody finds your phone or something happens, the moderator can delete everything immediately. And it's just a safer way to communicate things. On some of the tours, we've set up two chats on the Signal Chat, because one was for chatting and the other one was for the organizers to just give you information, so the chat didn't get clogged up with other things, that information was always there for you to see. So that's a good tip for that. Let's see. So you're going to want to figure out what materials you're going to need. Obviously, you'll know your events. If you need posters, banners, flags, costumes, chalk, flares, you're going to want to order that well in advance, so you can make sure you have it in time. I can suggest PETA is amazing for getting stuff to you pretty quickly. So find out who your local person is, and they usually send you a form, and you can request how many items you need and when you need it by. So put it, a little bit prior to your event to make sure that you get everything that you need. Vegan Outreach is another great place to get materials from. They have, I think, a suggested donation. So, and it's only like 7 cents per item, something like that. It's very good. They take a little bit longer to get you materials. And if you're not aware of Veg Fund is a great tool to use. It's an organization that funds your activism. So I've use them on several different occasions where you can fill it out, tell them what your event is, how much you're going to need, and a roundabout idea of what each item's going to cost. And you fund everything up front, and then at the end, they'll send you the money back. But they're an awesome organization to use. I've used them for food giveaways. I've had everything covered, from the food to my banners, to my posters, to ingredients to make food, eco-friendly bagging to put cookies in, stickers, shirts, whatever you need. They're absolutely amazing for that. Prior to your actions, you might have some new people coming in, you have some seasoned people coming in, but it's great to have a chant list that you can put in your group chat or put in your events, all the appropriate chants. If you're going to a place, maybe like an aquarium or a vigil or any protest, you might want to maybe include a piece of paper or something that tells your activists about what's going what the place is about, what you're protesting, a little bit of information, their history, about the animals, how long they've been there, the president, how long this has been carrying on, other issues that have happened. These things are really great because if you do have new people, they'll feel more comfortable leading chants possibly, or making a speak out based on the information that they know about the place. And we always like to try to encourage our new people, or just anybody, to chant and do speak outs as well. You might want to do room assignments based on individuals, couples, children, for your houses. I would definitely encourage doing a house rule signatures, just so everybody's kind of on the same page and we respect everybody's boundaries and everybody's wishes. Definitely check the weather before you go. You're going to want to make sure that you have appropriate attire. You want to bring water, you want to bring umbrellas, you want to bring ponchos, whatever you're going to need to your event. And then some events, you might want a megaphone, other events you might not. For example, if you're going to do a horse carriage protest, you're not going to want megaphones. If you're going to be doing a vigil, depending on how far away, we don't want to cause anybody else to be, any of the animals to be scared. So just try to take all that into account. And that's that. I'm going to go ahead and send it over to Amanda so she can talk to you about what she thinks is the things you can look into.
Well, when it comes to this, I think Malaina covered all of the high points, and we've really been trying not to duplicate our efforts. A lot of what we do has been very much the same, just kind of we're in two different areas, so it, different things occurred. So everything that she discussed were things that we did as well. And with Signal Chat, we also did the same thing where we had a house chat. And then one where I would just put, where we're going to be, when, chance, things like that in it. With the a lesson learned, I wanted to say when she was talking about the public versus private events. So the public ones, we had several that were public. So when we were doing like the fair protest, the zoo protest, the aquarium protest, those kind of ones, like we had the address, it wasn't something that we were trying to sneak up on them necessarily. So we were okay with those being public events. But then the one where we were trying to do the disruption with Tiffany and Company, that was one we wanted to try to sneak up on them. So we kept it the Signal Chat, and we didn't do an actual launch. We kind of kept it low key, like with the house people. But lesson learned, don't go directly to the location and stay in the cars in the parking lot. Like go somewhere else, plan it out, and then like do your attack. I think we were in the parking lot a little too long, and they might have caught on to what we were doing. So by the time we actually got to the building to try to go in to disrupt, they had already locked the doors on us. But we still at least protested outside until the police came, because it was actually a private mall. So it wasn't one that like we protested until the police asked us to leave, and then we had to leave because it was a public or a private mall. And that's something to consider too with your launching is it public? Is it private? If it's public, you should have no problems being on public sidewalks and holding a sign. With materials, as Malaina said, PETA's great. I got signs from them. I did get a small donation of signs from Compassion Works. That's another organization. In addition, I did buy the LVMH flyers like we had at Chicago Convergence that had like call numbers that I added for people to call asking LVMH for fur-free policy. I got those from Vegan Printer, but I also got some things from Vistaprint. And, I wanted to make sure chalk on public sidewalks is not illegal that I've ever seen. Now, it could be in states or places that I'm not familiar with, but in the places that I normally do activism, I haven't had any problems. It doesn't, it's washable, but it also gets your point across if, wherever you might be. Like, so if you're protesting somewhere, like always have chalk. I always have chalk. We had chalk in our thing constantly at Ohio Occurrence. Everywhere we were, if there were sidewalks, we were trying to chalk. So, just my little additional input for the action launch. I kind of wanted to go a little bit over, as I said, I'm kind of the spreadsheet queen, just kind of going over how I had put together our schedule. So one of the things, and I'm doing this now because we're already planning, we already have targets and stuff that we're putting together for the Cincinnati, Ohio Occurrence. And what I try to do are, like, I'll have the list of targets like you see there with Case Farm, Stalls No Harm Farm, and then the days. And then if something has a time, like their hours of operation is only on Friday, I try to list when they're open, when we'll be able to protest or demo or whatever it is that we're doing, and then what location in the city that they are. So I was kind of able, and I can't find, as I was planning for 23, I think I like used that as my prep for next year. So this was an older version. That's why it's not all filled in. But then I add the address and any notes in addition to any sponsors or secondary targets that place might occur. And then as you see to the left there, that was my actual schedule. So, You can see how we did a check-in on the 1st, and then we had breakfast and traveled to the vigil, had lunch, did the chalk night and the fair, so on, so on. And that's how I built out the schedule, was based off of what hours were, what locations were, because for instance, on the 2nd, that was quite a ways away. That was like down by Canton. So it wasn't Cleveland proper. But everything that we did was kind of in the same locality. And then the next 2 days, everything was kind of more north up by the lake. But I just kind of wanted to give a visual, because I'm a visual person, on how I came up with my schedule. This is the same kind of path that I'm taking for 2023. Have the template ready. Don't have anything in my schedule yet, but we have targets, and I'm building it out just like this, where I'm saying, okay, who's open when, and what days are we going to try to have things on? So just wanted to add that tidbit. So with assigning duties, there are all sorts of duties that you could do: household duties, volunteer duties, material duties. I know I'm very thankful that I had some people at the house that didn't mind throwing their hands in and getting some glue sticks and throwing some things together for me. But like with volunteers, a lot of times you can have people who are doing leaflets, if you're doing that, chalking the sidewalks, police liaison, photographers, like anything that could, the more volunteers, the better, to cover all those different things. I'm going to leave a few things for Malaina, so I'll go ahead and roll it over to her.
Yeah. So yeah, when you're assigning duties, there's, obviously going to be quite a few things that you're going to need help with to execute all of your actions, and take care of the house. When there's that many people, it's great to assign things, especially police liaison. There are some trainings through AAM that I'll let Amanda talk to you about later. But that's definitely a great one. We've had different issues with different things. Even chalking, we've had, sometimes when we're talking, we'll have like 5 squad cars show up. You'd think that we were doing something else, but definitely have somebody to talk to the cops to take the pressure off of everybody. Know who your person is. Make sure your people know who to point in the direction. We typically don't use names on that. So you want to say like the person with the purple hair, or the person with the black hat on, or, something that distinguishes them. And always put them in the direction, always, you're always a volunteer. There's no leader. You would want to have somebody as a poster distributor or chalk distributor, or somebody to distribute supplies. We've had occasions where we had so many posters, and some of our activists like to spend, a decent amount of money on some of the posters that are waterproof and beautiful colors using vegan printers. And on one tour, we had lost 2 $90 posters that was a not a good loss. So just, if you can assign somebody to keep track of things, make sure they hand them out in the beginning, they collect them back at the end. There's a place to put them in the van. Make sure that you have them in the van before you leave everywhere. You're also going to want to pick some chant leads. While we encourage everybody to be a chant leader, there's some people who are seasoned and know all the chants and can keep everything going throughout the whole time. So if you can assign maybe 2 to 3 chant leaders, and then just, encourage everybody else, make sure they have the chance to jump in whenever, just, give a look, a signal, and go ahead and take over. But at least if you have somebody assigned to do chant leads, the momentum will keep going, and it'll be more effective and get more notice. So if you decide to do food within the home, it's great to find somebody who's volunteering to be one of the chefs, and somebody to do kitchen help, which, we've been lucky enough to have our Miss Shannon Blair be our chef, but, there's so many people to feed, and you have to get all the plates together and the silverware together, and just assembling and everything. So having some designated kitchen help would be amazing, which could change like on different nights if you want to do that, if somebody is just not wanting to do it every time. Also, I found with organizing marches, learning from experience, I've done human rights marches, and I've done animal rights marches. I had a march where I did have people trail off, and, you know, some people were triggered by other people yelling on the side, you know, and wanted to stop and say things. Of course, you're going to want to address that in briefings, but to have some peacekeepers within the line is really good. To maybe station somebody in the front of the line, somebody in the back of the line, somebody in the middle of the line, maybe have some hand signals, you know, stop, or, you know, wrap it up, or whatever you need to do. Just to make sure there's no interference from outside and nobody's engaging when they shouldn't be engaged. Nobody trails off. And you always have, you know, your people move in. Also, a house parent is pretty good. I know in the past, Miss Amanda has been our house mom, where we just, you know, make sure that everything is kind of handled and in its place. Maybe, you know, lock the doors on the way out the house, make sure everybody's, you know, stuff is together. We had some issues in Chicago, where we needed to do a little better on locking all the doors. There was lots of doors in this house. Yeah, so those are some suggestions that I have for that. So.
And in Ohio Occurrence, we were actually very blessed as well to have Miss Shannon come all the way from Florida, her first time in Ohio. So that was significant. So actually the food that I showed you, that was her designed. That's the meals that I planned out with her. So it was really great.
It's always good when you can get a Shannon, but sometimes you can't. So
absolutely. So when it comes to challenges, of course, you know, we see challenges all the time, the more activism that you do, and it's kind of like a grow and learn from things. One big thing is always know your local laws, especially like with the Airbnbs, when you're in a house with multiple people, you know, knowing, you know, what substances people consume, like if they're legal in that state or not, and then just knowing that you're in a house with other people, although they're adults. You know, you want to make sure that this is a shared environment, and you don't want to make people uncomfortable either. And a lot of times this is something what that is a free offering. A lot of, you know, like at Ohio Occurrence, no one had to pay for the Airbnb outside of what was raised for the fundraiser. But overall, I mean, we had to have a house meeting once, but, you know, I think making sure that people are aware of expectations and setting, like Malaina said earlier, setting house rules. We tried to do it quiet hours, but one night we actually did have a bonus bunny rescue at like 3 a.m. So it kind of got a little loud in the first floor that night. But you know, the main things: cleaning up after oneself, kind of, you know, after a certain hour, being a little more cautious that people might be sleeping or need that downtime. We're all kind of different when we do our activism. Some people may not need downtime. Some people might need quiet. And when they're from out of town, their room, and especially if they're sharing a room with someone, like that might be their only place of solace to kind of go to. They might not have transportation, like that might be the quiet place that they can go to come down. I know, especially like after a vigil, like that can be really emotionally tolling on people. So just making sure that we're, you know, checking in with our volunteers, checking in with our people who, you know, who are helping, whether they're local or from out of town. We were, you know, blessed. It was great to have a lot of our locals join us at the activist house for meals, and just kind of social. We actually had some workshops at our house, like in between. We had a rainy day. I think we're going to talk about that here in a minute. But you know, just keeping all of those things in mind when you're in a big group of people. Just know we're all different in our own unique ways, and it does bring challenges. Malaina, did you have anything to add for challenges?
Yeah. So towards our last day, we went a little off schedule. because we ended up getting, instead of doing the chocolate, we had food brought in that was cold. So instead of doing our Starbucks first, we ended up doing the food. So we didn't really plan so well, I should say, for like having, more water, more snacks, and being in Florida, it's something that you really, really have to, plan for the climate, the weather. So I wish that we had brought more water and snacks for our people. That was, a little challenging, because instead of doing our March for Moms, I ended up literally just marching everybody straight to the Starbucks and hoping that we can get in there and have a good sit in, because we were all hot, we were hungry, we were tired, we were thirsty. So just make sure that, when you plan things, that you're aware of everybody. Definitely the sleep schedules and being mindful of people in the house. I personally think, like things like Chicago, I mean, I don't judge anybody for anything that anybody does. But some people drink, some people smoke. It's legal to, marijuana is legal in Ohio and in Chicago, not legal in other places, So, I mean, it sometimes I feel like it gets to be a conflict, especially with quiet times and stuff like that. So I think in the future, I might suggest that, if anybody wants to do anything, that they do it off of the premises of the house. And if they're coming back late, that they just be mindful of whoever their roommates are, and other people in the house. If it's totally necessary to even do any of that, we're there for activism, and we're there to build bonds and learn new things. So I would just take that into account, and definitely plan on having some house rules. And I can definitely suggest that if you're doing, when you start doing your events, I'm going to admit to accidentally putting an address on for our fur protest. So when we did get to the store, there was already cops there, but I grabbed my megaphone and said, all right, who's with me? So we went off from there holding our megaphones. We did our chanting and everything else. We didn't get in the store, but we were able to make just as big of a scene on the outside of the store. So, and we're going to discuss backup plans here in a little while. So, I think that's about it for that. Do you want to go ahead into the wrap up now, or do you want to go ahead and continue that? Okay, so in a wrap up, I'm just going to say I am at the end. It's good to do a Zoom chat with all the people that you had on your tour with you. That way you can go over things. I mean, it's great when you're on the tour to, if you can have a debriefing. Oh, and there's one more thing I wanted to say. At a lot of the tours, a lot of the activists, the one complaint I think that most people had was not getting enough downtime or time to actually spend time with people and get to know them and stuff. So that might be something that you might want to consider as well when planning. But in the Zoom chat, everybody can go over, how they felt about the different actions, what they would have done better, or, just all your feedback is right there. And it's a great way for everybody to share their experiences and talk about their first speak outs or their first chance or things like that. So I highly recommend doing that. You can do a survey to help with future events. I mean, whether you decide to have another event or not, other people might want to know what they can look for in future events when they plan them. And always try to do a Google Drive for photos, so you can everybody can compile their photos together, because whether you have a photographer or not, it's great to see all the different angles and shots people got and candid pictures, and that's where all the fun is at the end. And also it might help to let people know prior to the tour what tags they can use, like if you're doing fur, hashtag LVMH or Dior or Laura Piana, or tag, if you have Amanda has the Ohio Occurrence page set up, because it's going to be continuing. So she likes to have people tag the Ohio Occurrence. So all that goes into there, so everybody can see what's been done with that. So those are my tips.
Okay, so just a few additional items. Something that I did, and I can't remember exactly who inspired me to do this, but it was through AAM. I gathered quotes from the attendees who attended to get their experience of how Ohio Occurrence affected them in a positive way, like what they got out of the experience. I used Canva for all of those. You can actually go to Ohio Occurrence on Instagram, and that's actually where most of my posts are. I tried to keep up with Facebook, but it was hard. But all of those inspirational quotes that I got from people who attended. There's a ton of them out there. Actually, one of them was done by a volunteer who did it after we did a Canva workshop. So we kind of did some tidbits on how to use Canva, like the basics. And then they actually did their own and sent to me, and I uploaded it. But I'll share a couple of those in a bit just to kind of show you, but I have some additional information on that as well. At the end, I also was able to compare the fundraiser towards what we had spent and realized, oh, we actually had enough to pay for everything. So no one had to have any out-of-pocket expenses. And because this is annual, I think it was just over $100 that rolled over. So we already have a starting balance for Cincinnati this year. So, that'll be like our starting point and be added to whatever fundraiser we decide to do for this year. Sending any kind of thank you card, thank you emails, and including any kind of campaigns that you've worked on or petitions that exceed past the point of the weekend. I don't think that I mentioned it, but so Cleveland Heights is one of the only places that I'm aware of in Ohio that does live Caporos slaughter. They do the ritual, and then they do the slaughter of the chickens. So leading up to that and knowing that that was coming, for Ohio Occurrence, one of our actions was to start a petition. They just actually voted in a new mayor. We tried to deliver the petition to the mayor as an action as well. Unfortunately, he did not see us. And we also, after the tour, some locals had gone to city council meetings and spoke. They were able to speak on behalf of what this causes for the community and the animals and all of those different aspects. So things that we did that weekend exceeded past the actual weekend. So having that long-term impact, I think is that was one of my inspirations. And, that's what my goal and intention of Ohio Occurrences is to inspire, invigorate, and then just get these things going to help the animals. Tanya, I just happened to see the comment. She was commenting about the chickens that were saved this past year. Unfortunately, our petition and going to city council, the mayor still allowed them to do the slaughtering in there. So it's on the agenda for Cleveland for next year to, hopefully they'll just keep pressing with the petition and everything. And that's what I had for the wrap-up follow-up on that. So always have a backup plan. So actually, we had to do a spur of the moment flip on one day. Our Sunday, our last day, was actually rainy. So during our aquarium protest, and we also did a banner drop there. So it was very wet. And our march, we actually had a bridge where the aquarium was, where we were able to go under and at least stay for the majority dry. And some of us had umbrellas and ponchos that kept us a little drier. But we actually had to cancel our march that we had planned because we were doing a beach cleanup, and then we were going to march to the park that's kind of on the other side of an inlet, and we were going to do the free food giveaway. So we just had to kind of divert a little bit where we did cancel the march, but then we gave everyone the opportunity they could either go do beach cleanup, but we were going to hold an outreach type workshop at the house because we had a little one that was there and didn't want them out in the elements. So we had those dual options going for people. And we still made to the park and got rid of a couple dozen chickpea wraps for the free food giveaway. So always kind of have that backup plan. Workshops are great fillers. There's always something to learn. a lot of people that came to Ohio Currents weren't really familiar with Canva. I was relatively new with it as well. It's really helpful. With outreaching, of course, that's something I always find, some people could always have questions on. And then also, one of the things we did at our house was we did a Y chart, which it's not going to be very well, of course the blur isn't. So it's like why we went vegan. So everyone went through and actually, let me see if I can get it to, it's not, but everyone went through and like wrote down why they became vegan. So we were actually able, and we did it anonymously. So then people could look over it and see all of the different reasons, avenues that people came together. So those are just some fun things to do, and make sure you have like a backup plan or another alternative location for an action. Did you want to add anything to that, Malaina?
I think you covered most of it. Workshops are definitely a great way to fill a rainy day, or cover up when you can't get to an action. I always try to keep like dairy signs or something, or my Starbucks stuff, because you can always do a sit-in at a Starbucks and get yourself out of the rain. But you have some great ideas, and I think I'm just going to stick with those.
Thank you. And I'm unable to keep up with the chat. I see it on one screen, so I actually have two. If you didn't notice, there's two of me over there. I just can't keep up with it. So hopefully, I know Michelle's keeping questions, and we'll get to those shortly. So real quick, this is one of the things that really warms my heart. So these are two examples of the Canva quotes that I got for people. So as you can see, the first one, that's Mike from Washington, D.C. So he actually came with a group from Washington, D.C. to Ohio. And he did a lot of firsts. And what's even more amazing is he's now a mentee with AAM, which is just phenomenal, because that's what we want. We want people to know, like, this is what we do. This is what AAM is. This is what we're here to do. We want to give people that experience to be able to gain that confidence and go forward and stand up for the animals in their communities. And not only is there going to be a week of Washington, which I know he's going to be at, coming up in March, which I'm putting a plug already. I know Michelle's going to go over it at the end too. So who knows, by that time he could be a mentee or a mentor, who knows? So just knowing that he was able to gain all of that experience, an Ohio Occurrence, that made my vision to come to fruition, because that was like 360. It was right. Well, I guess 180, because it's not back to the beginning. It's, I guess maybe 360. I don't know. The second one there is Amy. She was a local from Cleveland, already an activist. And as you can see, she was feeling burnt out, and it reinvigorated her to do activism again. And now not only does she work for PETA, but she's also an AAM mentor now with AAM. So these are the type of things that we wanted to do when we organize these multi-day, action events, is to help give people that experience, help people get the confidence to be able to, like, yes, this is what I'm going to do, and being able to share that with others. I had done activism for years before I became a mentor, like an official mentor, but I was still helping people. But I love AAM and what they're about and what their mission statement is. And that's why I'm a mentor with them. And I do things like this because I feel that in the long run of everything, it's all good for the animals. We're out there, we're speaking up, doing what we need to do. And this just warms my heart, because this is fruition of my vision. So, or our vision, because I know same thing for Malaina, like this is what we want, is for things like this. So as Malaina mentioned earlier, we have a couple, or AAM has a couple of workshops that they've already done historically. I have the links there. I don't know. I can't put them in the chat real quick, but if you can do a screenshot or a snap of the picture, or you can just go to AAM on YouTube and you can put in those titles. Those are the exact titles. If you hear my cat, I don't know if you can hear my cat meowing. She wants to be in my lap and I'm in here with the door shut and she doesn't like that. So if you hear her, she's not dying, I promise. But these two, if you're going to do activism, or not activism, organize, especially like if you feel that it's something where police are going to get called, these help a lot with security culture and then talking to the police. I think there's a couple other videos as well with different interactions with police on the AAM YouTube page as well. But we just wanted to make sure that we threw these in here for your situational awareness, to be able to watch these and help with your experience with security culture. Because like Malaina said, you know, we don't want, no one's a leader. So even though we're organizing, like no one needs to know, like we're not the organizer, we're not the leader, we're just volunteers. We're all volunteers. You know? So you guys know the truth. Also, with AAM, as you know, or as I've even already mentioned, or Michelle did too, we offer free mentorships. Of course, these live tours. Malaina was on several. They toured Florida, which maybe she can talk a little bit more about that. They have a YouTube channel where all of their stuff is archived to, including their podcast, The Liberation Hour. They do a monthly newsletter that you can sign up for. They run on donations. They do also have a Clubhouse app, which isn't used as much. Hopefully it'll get running back up again, because it's almost kind of like a live podcast. It's like a radio podcast where you can have a conversation and people can kind of come on stage and chat, and it's really nice. And as we mentioned, AAM itself is ran on donations. I have some information there, their Cash App, their Patreon. You can sign up monthly in Patreon for as little as $2 a month. And then of course they do all sorts of fundraisers that can also be found with their the different actions that they're doing. So like, I think there's one up for Colorado and one for Washington already. Excuse me. Malaina, did you have anything on any of that you'd like to add?
Well, I just wanted to say that I absolutely love AAM, and the fact that the Florida tour, I had been asked prior to the Florida tour if I wanted to become a mentor, and at the time I was like, you know, there's some things that I still feel like I need to do, you know, before I, you know, start leading people into this. And we did so many amazing things on the Florida tour. That was my first one, and when I came back, I was so stoked and so excited, and I'd done so many different things, and I formed so many amazing bonds that I was like, you know what? I've got such an amazing team with all these people from AAM that if there's a question that I can't answer for somebody, I got a whole backup team that is more than willing to help with anything that we need at any point in time. So, I mean, I consider AAM my family, not just my friends, not just mentors, mentees. Like all the people that I've taken on as mentees have been amazing, you know. And like I said, I've had introverts come, you know, and they're like, oh, I don't want to do this, so do that, I'm not sure how I'll feel. My mentee from Colorado came all the way to Atlanta, and we went to it did a disruption, and she's bouncing out of there going, when are we going to do the next one, you know? I've had a friend, my friend Steph, she's very introverted, and she went on that tour with me because she says, I want to go only if you go. And the next thing I know, you know, she's got one of these amazing pictures, if you get to see it, if you watch the tour on YouTube, she's the one walking out of Neiman Marcus at the end with probably 50 something police behind her and holding her sign. And, you know, she's chanting and she's, you know, doing all these amazing things. And, you know, it's so inspiring, and to become a mentor, and get to teach people how to get active in their community and see all the amazing things that they do. It's priceless. And I wouldn't want to do anything else. I absolutely love AAM. I love these tours. And if we didn't say prior, we do the fundraising and all that, so we can take the burden off of any of the activists. All they have to do is get there. So we can have, 50, 60 people come out there because the housing is covered, the food is covered, the transportation is covered. So we try to make, to do the best we can to make sure that everybody's able to come out to these events. And they're also open to new activists, seasoned activists, and children. So, there's something for everybody, and there's always a way to get active. And I would definitely check more into AAM if you're just tuning in right now just to hear this. Yeah, that's all I got to say for now.
So as we wrap up, there's just a couple of things that we're going to end with. The first one, this is my favorite AAM sign. It's my favorite. There is no freedom without action, which is absolutely true. If you look through history, nothing changes without action. So what's happening to the animals is not going to change if we don't get active. So I just wanted to share this because that quote drives me every time that I'm out standing up for the animals. And then Malaina.
I chose this one. It's a quote by Regan Russell. And it's, I'm trying, I don't know if it does any good, but I know doing nothing does no good. So I chose this one because not only was she an amazing activist, but the words, when I was on the tour, there was some times, during there when I, put the address in the wrong spot, but we pulled it off at for one, the last day that we changed around some things and everybody got hot and everything, I felt a little stressed out because these were people that I had, that I was organizing, I was leading, and I wanted everything to go so well. And Shannon looked at me at one point when I was stressing out, and she said to me, she said, Malaina, just relax. She said, because everything that's happening right now is happening because of you, because you organized this. And there are people speaking out for the animals right now because you did this, and nobody else can tell that you're stressing out. But if you didn't organize this, nothing would be happening, and it calmed me down because I was like, you know what? I've got all these amazing people here. Everybody's doing stuff. Nobody knows how stressed out I am, but they're all doing their thing, and they're excited about it, and they're using their voices, and they're doing great things. So when you do plan these kind of actions, as a first timer or wherever you are with things, everything might not go as you wanted or as you planned, but you roll with it, and you know that you're doing a good thing for the animals, and that all the people that are there with you are there to support you. And and it's just a great thing. So those words, as well as Shannon's, are where I'm going, because if we don't do these things, nobody is doing them. We are the voice for the animals, so and they do need us. So whatever we do, no matter how stressed out you are or you think it's going wrong, it's going right. You're doing something awesome. So that's my take on it.
So here are Malaina and I's information. I've included the Ohio Currents items so you can follow there for the upcoming official launch of Cincinnati. We are aiming, for those that joined after I mentioned it earlier, Ohio Currents 2023 will be in Cincinnati, Ohio this year. We're aiming for the first weekend of September. Waiting for one more thing before I officially launch the dates, but a little soft reminder. But you can find me, my activist handle is Gem City Vegan, and there's my email as well as Ohio Currents. Because it's something I do annually, I wanted to make sure that people could reach me on social media. Malaina. Oh, you're muted. Oh, there you go.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, so that's all my contact information on there. I can be found under Malaina Watts, of course. I can also be found under Watts Vegan Living. And as of now, I'm a chapter leader for the Climate Save through the Animal Save movement. So you can find us on there as well. So if anybody has any questions or anything, or ever wants to get in touch with me, wants to request me as a mentor, or find out, any information that I can help with organizing a tour or just an action, anything, I'm completely available. So please don't hesitate.
Thank you.
Great job, you guys.
Don't forget to do a snap of the contact. All right. And so just a few little photos to end. Got a couple there on the left from Ohio Currents, couple on the right there from Tampa Turnout. So just, shows the amazing people who came out to volunteer with us. So I know we kind of I just realized what time it was. So if you don't mind, we can go ahead and open it up for questions.
Yes, now we can open it for questions. Why not? Okay.
We had a lot
of good information. I'm so inspired. I'm so impressed with you guys with the amount of information you provided and how organized the material was. Just really a tribute to how organized, why you are organizers. No doubt this workshop was organized because you guys are so great organizers. So if you have a question, please go ahead and hit the hand raise icon or raise your hand or put it in the chat. There was a question, I don't know if Malaina can answer or Amanda from Comito about Veg Fund. She said they support veganism. Do they also support activism with funds?
I'll let Malaina take that one.
Yes, they support veganism and activism. I did a food giveaway, like I said, where they funded everything. The application, you just go ahead and set up an account on there and it's always in there. So all you got to do is put your event information in there. And they're pretty quick about getting back to you. And they say to plan like, I think 2 to 4 weeks ahead of time, but I've always gotten an answer within like a week and a half, 2 weeks. So they'll fund anything. I've had my plant-based treaty banners as well as posters, totaling about $250 they covered. The food they covered, it was over $100. I did some Good Planet cheese giveaway, which went over really, really amazing if you ever wanted to do one of those. But they cover everything. They support your activism. They also, if you go on there, they have a lot of tips and tricks and like a big thing on helping you do activism and finding different events to do. So they're super amazing if you go out and check them out. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to help you if you need any help with filling out the forms or any of that. I just taught my mentee how to do it. So she has that tool to use. So it's up, there's the kitty. So yeah, it's a pretty awesome tool to use. Did I answer the question, I hope?
Yeah, great.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I was just curious because somebody told me that they only do like food and vegan stuff, but if you actually have experience with that and they covered it, that's great.
Yeah, they do all vegan stuff. So yes, anything that you want to do, they should cover you on it. And if you have any issues, just let me know, maybe in the wording or whatever. Then you send in you're supposed to just hold. The requirement is you print out this Veg Fund signage and I just put it on a poster board and I take a picture at my event with somebody holding it or it on a table or somewhere. And then they have you send pictures of your event just to prove everything. And then they'll have you screenshot your receipts and they set up this bill pay thing and they wire the money right to you. So it's a pretty awesome thing.
Great. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
They are a great resource. So Di, you have your hand raised. Go ahead and unmute and ask your question. Yes.
Okay, so I'm very new to this. I came to one other Zoom thing. So if I wanted to find a mentor, like I live in St. Louis, do you find somebody who lives locally to you or do you get connected with anybody? Like, how does that work?
Well, we match people by a bunch of matching sort of criteria. We do try to prioritize, matching people within, driving distance or within the same state or the same town. It doesn't always happen that way because we have mentors all over the country. But I can promise that you'll be matched with someone who will most likely be really a good match for you based on your interests and your goals. And we just know our mentors pretty well. So Di, if you want to become a mentee, go to animalactivismmentorship.com and there's a form that you can fill out, or you can reach out to me or any one of us.
You
Thanks
can
for,
also, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
You can also request mentors, or you can request that you want somebody local. I do have mentees that are in Colorado. I'm in Florida, so I've had one in Indiana, one in Colorado, one in Atlanta. So with our network of mentors and activists, we are able to hook you up to do different actions in your area, whether they're in your area or not. So
yes, and we are
Thank you
international.
so much. Yeah.
I've had a mentee in Indonesia and just all over, and it's so great to be connected to activism communities. That was great, Malaina. Anybody else though? Any other questions? Raise your hand, press the hand raise icon. Look how great you guys covered so much. Let's see, any other questions?
Someone asked to see my cat that was meowing at the door. This is her. Her name is Piper.
Hi, Piper.
She's my old little girl. She'll be 13 this year. Acts like she's 2.
Yeah, forever babies.
Mm-hmm.
Did I miss any questions? Any questions? Who is really motivated to organize after this? I hope.
So I'm going to be working with Christy for the Colorado Convergence, and that's the reason why I called in.
Wow, I wish Christy was here. Yeah, that's great. Oh, thank you for that.
Yeah, so we're excited about that too. Yep.
Nice. Nice. I'm so excited for that one. And Shantae asked when we're going to have one in Cali. Are you offering to organize one there? All we need is someone to step up, one person, from that area, from that state to step up and want to do it, and we will support you.
I don't live in Cali. I just noticed that there are AAM mentors on the website that live in Cali. So I wondered why there haven't been any out there yet.
And maybe just a matter of time. It might be a matter of those mentors might not be as active as they used to be at that time. But hey, it's our goal to have, events in every single state in this US and beyond. So we are still fairly new. AAM, believe it or not, is still fairly new. We only really just started in March of 2020.
Well, and that was Malaina and I's idea with doing this workshop as well, is to allow our experience to, let other people know, okay, this is what we're doing, even for these little, I want to call them micro tours, because there's been as many as 10-day actives or 10-day action days. And but if other mentors see this, I mean, I did it in Ohio, in the Midwest, where our activism was kind of light, but we had people come in from Washington, D.C., Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Florida. We had people come in from all over, not only from Ohio, but all those other locations as well. And I find that that's very similar on the tour. Or all of the tours, you always have people that come in from all over. But hopefully this workshop will inspire other mentors to do them in other cities. I mean, ideally, I hope that one day I don't get to go to all of them because we're having so many of them, that would be wonderful to see.
So hard to believe it was really your first time and Malaina's first time, because you seem like such pros. And look how much you learn. And this is the benefit of community. We learn and teach each other. We're all together, and you guys have created a little template, that's reproducible, that's kind of turnkey. People can watch this workshop and you've laid it all out. Not all of it, but 99% right there. I love it. So we must have another question or two. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap up. If we don't have any other questions, I'll give you another minute or so. See if any other questions come to mind. Any other questions? I always, whenever I wrap up, then as soon as I go to wrap up, there'll be a question. Always happens, which is okay. Well, I'm just giving it a moment. Oh, Andre, okay, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Yes, definitely. Hello. So I wanted to ask, if someone wants to organize a convergence or an event, do they need to be mentors of AAM?
Well, no, I mean, yes and no. I guess it would be sort of a dialogue about, wouldn't you want to become a mentor at that point? I think it would depend on a lot of factors, how well we know the person, how active they are. I think it would be sort of a discussion, but I'm not going to say no, because we want to support activists overall in general. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was having that question because doing an event is a lot of energy and effort through a specific period of time. But being a mentor is something more constant. Maybe someone doesn't want to be constant on investing that much into that area.
Yeah. Well, and you can be an AAM mentor without having a mentee. I mean, you can still stay involved as a mentor, and maybe your contribution to mentoring is more the organizing, which is also a form of mentoring, right? You're being a role model, you're being a teacher, you're being an organizer, so people can learn to do that. And
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point.
Tons of folks who are not mentors, who've never heard of AAM, come to these live events and they become mentors, or sometimes they don't, but we're all about pulling people together and creating community for sure.
Well, and just to also mention, I mean, Malaina had a mentee who was helping organize too. So even like becoming a mentee, if you haven't gone through the program yet, and being guided in that aspect as well, that could be an option as well.
Yeah, I had a mentor last year, a year ago, Juan Endara, a great mentor.
We know, Juan, yeah. Awesome. So Andre has graduated from being a mentee.
Well, thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your great question. I wasn't expecting to talk about AAM quite, but that's what this platform is for, in addition to organizing as an AAM. So any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to wrap up. Okay, I'm going to wrap up because I guess we are getting kind of toward that point now, but thank you everybody. And if you do have questions as I'm wrapping up, you can put them in the chat. Maybe Amanda or Malaina can give you the answer in the chat. So I want to announce, of course, our next two upcoming workshops. Hold on. The next one is next Thursday, January 26th. It's Effective Activism, What's Holding Us Back, with Dr. Faraz Harsini. And then on Thursday, February 9th is An Unnatural Order, The Roots of Our Destruction of Nature, with author Jim Mason. And his program, his workshop, will be based on his book of the same title. So you might want to pick up his book. He's actually a pretty well-known author. He co-wrote a couple of books with Peter Singer. So that's then, and more workshops to be announced. So please invite your friends and join us. And again, please check out our previous workshops on our YouTube channel and subscribe. And now I want to announce our 2023 live events that are scheduled and planned. The AAM Washington, D.C. Week of Action is taking place March 14th through 20th, so mark your calendars. And the Colorado Convergence is taking place in and around Denver. The dates are June 24 through July 1. No experience required, but registration is required. So you'll find the events on our Facebook page and website, or reach out to us. And Amanda mentioned that September is the potential month for the next Ohio occurrence as well. So lots to do, lots to look forward. It wraps up another AAM workshop. Thank you, Amanda and Malaina, for your time and wisdom. Give them a hand, everybody. Thank you all for being here and the tireless work you're doing for the animals. And again, if you're interested in becoming a mentor or mentee, or to get involved, please reach out to AAM, any AAM mentor, or visit our website, animalactivismmentorship.com. Please consider becoming a patron by finding AAM on Patreon. And if you'd like to be on our email newsletter list, please drop your email in the chat. You're also welcome to drop your Instagram handles in the chat so we can follow each other. All right. Great job, you guys. Until next time, stay strong and live vegan, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.